Okay, friends, so what we're going to work on is the first few steps of the dragon eye. And like I said previously, this is one of my favorite projects to do. So I love doing this. Make sure you got a pencil, sharp, an eraser, and if you have a sharpener, that's even better. If you have drawing pencils, which I know some of you do have, you can use drawing pencils for this. But I'm going to work on the idea that most of my students don't have drawing pencils, so we're just going to use a regular pencil. You can also use a mechanical pencil for this if that is what you have instead. So either one of these types of pencils will be fine, or if you just so happen to have drawing pencils, you can use those. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a circle on our paper, and I don't want you to go get something to trace. I want you to practice drawing a circle without using a eraser or an eraser. Of course you can use an eraser without using a shape to trace. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a piece of paper. If you don't have white copy paper, you can use notebook paper. But remember, notebook paper will rip if it's erased on too much. Our focus for this drawing is that we're going to be doing this slowly and methodically, which means we're going to go through each step by step, and we're going to do our very, very best to try to draw a dragon eye. And I'm not worried if you get this correct or not. I'm more worried about you trying and learning a new technique. And it's the first time some of us are even drawing like this, and it's okay. All right, so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna measure the outside edge. So we don't want to have like a little tiny square or a little tiny square over here. I'm gonna show you how I want you to measure it. Now remember, in class, we always like to use our hands. I'm gonna put my hand, palm of my hand is gonna be right at the bottom of my paper, and the side of my fingers are gonna be right here. So I'm gonna do 3 fingers. So see, 1, 2, 3 fingers from the edge, and that's important. Okay, I'm just gonna draw a little dash line so that I know where that is. I'm going to do the same thing. I flipped it over. That's all I did, is I flipped it all the way over. Okay. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to draw lightly going up each of those lines. So see how I have mine in my hand in the middle. I'm going to pull my pencil back. I'm doing this so that I can't press down as hard. I've talked about this before. So the farther back my pencil is, the less likely I am to press hard. Because if you hold it like this, you press down hard, it's hard to erase. We want light drawing. So if you have a new pencil or if you have a mechanical pencil, you still want to hold it as far back as you can in your hand. So with your pencil, you're just going to lightly sketch up. So I just go back and forth like this. It's just kind of like straight. Okay. They're just short little lines that overlap. Okay. Same thing going down. And it doesn't need to be perfectly straight, just so long as it is straight-ish. Okay, so now we've done the sides. So now we need to make the top and the bottom. So this time we're only going to use 2 fingers, and I'm just going to kind of guess where the middle is. It's about right there. Oops. And then I do the same steps where I just draw from that line. But I'm not going to go to the edge this time because I'm trying to create a square. Instead, I'm just going to go to the lines I've already drawn. Now, obviously, it's not a perfect square. It's more of a rectangle, and that's perfectly fine. But I want you to make sure when you measure it, you have 3 finger spacing on both outside edges and 2 finger spacing on both inside edges, because what we're going to do now is we're going to turn that into a dragon eye. And I'm going to tell you, before we go any further, if you have a tiny square, I'm going to let you know that it's going to be way harder to draw a dragon eye when it is too small. I know you think if you draw it smaller, it'll look better. It doesn't. It's harder to draw things small. Small is so hard to draw. Try to make your project as big as you can on the paper you have. okay? I promise you it'll be easier the bigger that it is. So now what we're gonna do is, using the little dash lines that I have, I'm going to, so see those the darker spots on here? I'm gonna use those to connect my circle. So what I like to do is I like to turn my paper, my little origami fish friend is in my way, and I like to go from here, and I'm drawing a curved line from here to here. And I draw it several times, and it gets darker the more you layer it. And all I do is I just keep repeating those steps all around. Now, if you have, this is just an example, if you have, well, that's terrible. If you have a dragon eye that looks like this, this is not what I asked you to draw. You need to try drawing a circle. So these edges are not round enough. You need to try to make them rounder, and try to draw them, resist the urge to try to trace it. Now mine ends up looking like an oval or kind of like a little egg. Perfectly fine. Okay? Don't worry about it being a perfect circle, okay? I'm not working on a circle, so don't worry about if yours isn't either. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start adding in some details. These are just sketchy details, so they're not perfect right now, and they're not gonna be perfect till several steps later. So the first thing is I'm gonna draw, I guess this is a rhombus or a diamond shape for the eye. You can make it as big as you want to, but don't go all the way up and don't go all the way down. So like, I like making mine a little bit bigger than the example that I'm using. So, and then I like to just shade it in a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. It helps me see. Now we're gonna use the edge of our eye, and we're gonna come out, we're gonna draw the top of the eyelid, and then we're gonna draw, there's like a little lip on the eyelid, and then we're gonna draw the top and the bottom, and then like a little edge lip, I guess. I said it weird. It'll make sense once we're done drawing it. Okay, so we're gonna start slightly on the outside. So I'm just gonna start outside of my eye. See how it's just a space? And I'm drawing around my eye, and I'm giving some space around my eye because this is the eyelid. The eyelid is not attached directly over your eye. There is some space there. And then there's like this little curve. It kind of comes like this. Now, I always have trouble drawing the curve part of my eye. So as you notice, like I turned my paper so I can make it better. And I've talked about it before, how your hand naturally makes a curve like this. So if that's what you need to do as well, please, by all means, turn your paper while you're drawing. There's gonna be other art teachers out there that tell you not to do that. So I'm just telling you now. So if you take like a drawing class, they're gonna try to make you draw without moving your paper. And I'm not worried about that. I'm more concerned with you being successful. All right, so the eyelid starts a little bit high about right here, but it starts on this line and it overlaps. So don't worry about these lines you see right now. We're gonna be doing a lot of shading, and we're gonna move those right out. So we're gonna move this down like this. I don't really like that. More like that, yeah. All right. Now, if you draw lightly enough, you can erase and it'll look like nothing was ever there. So remember, we're drawing lightly and delicately at this point in time. All right, and then we're gonna go over, and this is like, if you ever had a lizard or seen a lizard before, then you know some of them have like this little kind of ridge line over their eyelids, and that's because lizards don't have eyelashes, and our eyelashes help keep debris and stuff from getting in our eyes, and the little edge or the ridge on the eyes that lizards have actually help them from getting debris and stuff in their eyes, kind of like our eyelids do. All right, so this edge I'm going to now take and I'm going to do the under part of the eye. And I'm not going to connect them together, not yet anyway. And then I'm going to pull another part kind of like right underneath here. To kind of make that part. Okay. So I'm going to go through and just sketch out my lines a little bit more around the main part of my eye. Because we're going to smear or smudge out all of these pencil lines to make it look nice and shady. So I know we are focusing on texture with this, but we're also doing some value, we're doing some contrast, and I promise you that if it doesn't make sense right now, it will when we get there. Okay, now we have 3 spikes in the back of the eye. You can draw more than 3. I just like drawing 3, but I wouldn't do more than 5. So I like doing some pretty decent sized spikes. Lots of sketchy spikes, okay? Don't worry about them being some perfect spikes right now, because again, they're just being sketched on. If it feels like you need more, then do more. I think this one needs to be more like that. And yeah, I like that better. Okay, and I'm just gonna erase the top one. Again, because I drew lightly, I was able to erase it without adding too much. And even I pulled my pencil a little too close there for a minute. So I'm just gonna sketch that out. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna blend the whole thing out, and then we're gonna be done with class for the day. Now, some of my friends might have a blending stump at home, which is just a rolled up piece of paper. You can get those at Michael's if you want, but you're not required to have them. So this is what a blending stump looks like, okay? So it's just rolled up paper, and then you use the edge and use the side of the edge, and the blending stump itself helps you from like keeping your fingers from getting gross from all of the graphite. It also helps spread the graphite better. So you want to blend the whole thing out over the whole thing. Nice and blended all over. If some of your lines that you wanted to keep kind of disappear, you have my permission to go through and draw them back in. You might need them. Okay. So I just want to tell you right now, the person that's in the presentation, their artwork that's in the presentation, that work is actually done with charcoal. And because it's done with charcoal, it's much, much darker than our regular pencils are going to be. If you have drawing pencils and you're using, and you're not sure which pencils to use, I actually wrote that out for you in the presentation. So if you look, I'll tell you which type of drawing pencils to use per step, which is what we would do if we were at school. We would use my drawing pencils, but unfortunately we're not. So it should be nice and smudged out like that. And that is all we're gonna work on for today. Tomorrow we will do the next steps. Have a great day, guys.